There's a really strange paradox happening all around us. Our technology, it's become seamless, instant, frictionless. But our minds, well, our minds seem to be going in the complete opposite direction. It kind of feels like we're all living in this constant mental fog, right? Like a low-grade intellectual jet lag that never goes away. So let's get into the architecture of this problem, and more importantly, figure out how to start rebuilding. You know that feeling. I'm sure you do. You're in a conversation, someone asks you a pretty simple question, and instead of an answer, there's just nothing. Silence. It's like you can feel that internal loading bar just spinning and spinning as you struggle to grab a thought that should be right there. It's a deeply unsettling feeling, and if it sounds familiar, trust me, you are not alone. This thing actually has a name: mental buffering. It's that lag, that delay between a question and your response. And the root cause? Well, it's a mind that's just been overstimulated by a relentless diet of fast, shallow digital stuff. Our brains are literally being trained by 10-second videos and infinite scrolling, and it's rewiring our ability to really engage in complex, nuanced thought. And that, right there, is the central irony of our time. We worked so hard to engineer away the dreaded loading bar from our apps and websites, only to find we basically installed it directly into our own brains. Our tools got faster, but our ability to think deeply and respond with any kind of agility, it's slowed way down. So how in the world did we get here? This buffering thing, it isn't just a personal feeling. It's a symptom of a much, much bigger cultural shift that's all rooted in our fragmented attention. And there's actually data to back this up. And yeah, this isn't just some vague feeling we all have. It is measurable. Recent studies are showing a dramatic drop in what psychologists call conscientiousness among adults under 40. Now, that's the trait that's all about perseverance, the ability to set a goal and actually stick with it, to see a plan through to the end. And apparently, it's been severely eroded. And while those traits have been going down, something else has been on the rise. In that exact same period, reported neurotic behaviors, we're talking intense anxiety, panicking over small things, a constant sense of insecurity, those have increased by a staggering 10%. We're becoming less resilient and a whole lot more emotionally volatile. This all ties back to a concept called short-term temporal preference. Our digital world is basically a massive training ground for it. It teaches us over and over to choose the small, immediate reward, the notification, the like, the next short video, instead of the delayed, more meaningful satisfaction that comes from long-term effort. We're trading lasting achievement for these tiny, fleeting dopamine hits. And this is where it gets really personal. What's so crucial to understand here is that memory isn't just about remembering facts. It's the thread that weaves all our experiences together into a coherent story of who we are. So when our attention is constantly being shattered into a million pieces, our memory becomes this collection of disconnected fragments. And a fragmented memory, well, that inevitably leads to a fragmented sense of self. Okay, let's really dive into this, because if we're going to fix the problem, we have to completely reframe how we think about memory itself. It is not just a biological hard drive for storing data. It's so much more than that. For the ancients, memory was one of the three great powers of the soul, right up there with intelligence and will. It wasn't some passive storage unit, it was an active, dynamic faculty that you could train, that you could strengthen, that you could deepen. It was the absolute bedrock of wisdom and character. It feels like we've completely lost that understanding. So we need to make a distinction between two types of memory. First, there's quantitative memory. That's your ability to memorize lists, facts, sequences. It's what flashcards and rote drills are for. But then there's qualitative memory, and this is the ability to understand the essence of a concept, to see the connections between ideas, and to achieve that deep, lasting comprehension. There's a really powerful metaphor that makes this crystal clear. Think of quantitative memory as the size of a container. It's just your capacity to hold information. Qualitative memory is the water you pour into it. Now, if you have a giant container but no water, it's useless, right? And if you have all this profound, amazing water but only a tiny little container, it just spills over and gets lost. We need to build both. So that brings us to the practical part. How do we actually build this architecture? How do we expand the container and fill it with deep, clear water? Let's open up the toolkit for rebuilding our focus. Here's a foundational exercise you can do. First, build the container. Take a list, let's say the Roman emperors of the 2nd century, and just memorize the sequence through repetition. Okay, that's your quantitative base. Second, you deepen it. Learn one crucial, interesting fact about each emperor. Now you're adding the quality. And third, visualize it. Place them on a timeline or maybe a map of the empire. This creates this powerful visual and spatial connection, turning a bunch of disconnected facts into actual structured knowledge. Now, an exercise like that works best when it's supported by daily habits. You have to intentionally step away from all the low-level noise through digital detox. You have to actively consume long-form content, dense books, long lectures, classical music, to rebuild your attention span. Meditate, not just to clear your mind, but to really reflect on what you've learned and pull out its essence. And finally, take on real-world challenges that demand focus and toughness, and create a list of daily disciplines that you follow no matter what. This is how you rebuild the virtue of perseverance. But listen, the way you make these connections really matters. A lot of memory techniques rely on gimmicks, right? Silly jingles, random associations, those are weak. The goal here is to seek organic associations, connections that are actually rooted in the true essence of the concept. So, for example, when you're learning a symbol, don't just make up a rhyme. Understand the origin and the meaning of its different parts. That creates a connection that's deep and lasting, not superficial. Ultimately, this isn't just about remembering more facts. Training your memory is really about training your will. It's about taking back control from the algorithmic feeds and the impulsive desires that are fragmenting our attention. As Aristotle taught us, true maturity is about becoming the master of your own passions, not their servant. Rebuilding your focus is an act of reclaiming your own mind. So what we're left with is this. Every moment you spend, every single click you make, is a vote for the kind of mind you're going to have tomorrow. Your attention is the currency you use to build your inner world. So the question isn't just what you're paying attention to, but what kind of mind are you building with that attention?